It's fair to say that the 100 that Virat Kohli got against Bangladesh has divided a lot of opinion, and whilst that not necessarily may not be the case, let's say, with a lot of fans, most of whom were very happy to see King Kohli get back among the runs and get that winning ton in a cause that was in the end a victorious one. Let's just say that there was plenty of disagreements, debate between not just us and fans, but even among each other here at Sports Today, and the same is true for a lot of cricket and sporting experts around the world. Now, whilst many are rightfully lauding Kohli for getting a century and taking India home, there were a few concerns, as a lot of us were pointing out, about, let's say, the way that Kohli and India were going about things. And as it turns out, some of those concerns are also being shared by not just current players, but even former internationals. And when I say former internationals, I mean star former internationals, players who have been there right at the top of the game in dominant World Cup winning sides. Now, of course, as we said, on Sports Today itself, we were in, let's say, disagreement with each other as well when talking about whether Kohli was right or wrong in going for that ton. But as it turns out, Kohli's approach has been questioned by none other than one of Kohli's teammates, who up until very recently, Cheteshwar Pujara, who you'd remember, of course, has was playing Test cricket for India as recently as the World Test Championship of this year, has called into question whether or not Virat Kohli's approach was the right one under that circumstance. This is what he said. He said that as much as I want Virat to score that 100, but you want to finish the game quickly because you want your net run rate to be at the top. You don't want to look back and think we could have done that. This part's really interesting for one very simple reason. You'd remember that we were discussing yesterday during our post-match show that the only way that India would actually have gone ahead of New Zealand's net run rate was if they were to get their target in 34 or so overs. However, that seemed to be gone quite a while back, and India in fact ended up finishing it in the 42nd over, which was about nearly 8 overs later than they intended. Of course, if they'd gotten that win in 34, maybe even 35 overs, you might not have seen this bin as much as a problem. And it is also worth noting that despite the fact that India registered what was a comfortable, comprehensive win by all stretches of the imagination, their net run rate actually ended up dropping from about 1.8 to 1.6. So in a sense, despite the fact that they absolutely, for all intents and purposes, hammered Pakistan, their net run rate ended up falling down. Not really the best of times if you're looking at it. Despite the fact that you've registered a big thumping win, you see an overall drop in your net run rate. And Pujara's take was in fact in many ways, or in a different manner, echoed by Matthew Hayden, because Matthew Hayden, again, someone who never really bothered, let's say, taking his time. In fact, he was quite the opposite. He just looked to get on with his business as often and as quickly as possible. Also said something along similar lines. This is what he said. He said that my initial reaction is he's earned the right to 100, and that's a fair enough point. But you have to be careful in these tournaments. NRR matters, and the sporting gods are a sinister mob. Some pretty strong words when you look at it, because what he said is that, look, initially when I was watching that knock, if you're looking at it, Kohli had earned the right to 100 because he really did hold India's innings together. That's a point well made by Matthew Hayden, but he did very well say after that, and he followed that up with a reminder that you have to be very careful in such tournaments because your net run rate matters, and the sporting gods are a sinister mob. This part really is worth pointing out, because it has been proven time and time again that net run rate can and will be a difference maker in such tournaments. We've seen it in the IPL, we've seen it in World Cups in the past. In fact, if you remember, in 2019, New Zealand only made it into the top 4 because of their net run rate. They and Pakistan had the exact same number of points, but New Zealand made it through in 4th position to the semi-finals only based on their net run rate. So obviously, if you're one of the top sides, as like India were in 2019, India had that buffer because they were right on top of the table. But it is very ironic, and as he says, the sporting gods are a sinister mob. India, despite being top of the table, were knocked out of the tournament by the side that only ended up qualifying for the semis on net run rate. So, truth be told, I do kind of get Hayden's point here as well, because as he said that why leave anything up to chance? That is what Pujara and Hayden, in fact, both have said, and that is what a lot of us were saying on the show as well. And what we've been saying consistently is that why do you want to leave things to chance? Why do you not want to just get things done with in the most clinical manner possible and ensure maximum returns? Yeah, you can say that, the net run rate won't matter if you end up winning most of your matches and if you're finishing on top. That is correct. India have proven that. But as Hayden very rightly points out, the sporting gods can be a sinister mob. So it makes sense to treat the game with respect and ensure that you treat every match with the respect it deserves. So if you have the chance to win the match by a certain margin and boost your net run rate, better to do it now, because as we've seen even now already in this tournament, one heavy loss can really wipe out a lot of those gains. We saw it happen with Pakistan. Pakistan beat both Netherlands and Sri Lanka by pretty convincing margins, but their net run rate took an absolute beating when they were thrashed by India at Ahmedabad. Now, do I think India might get thrashed? Probably not, but there is still every chance you lose, and you don't want that loss, a close loss even, to impact your net run rate, because it's a very long tournament and these marginal things, whether or not you might agree, do actually end up mattering. I have said it, Matthew Hayden has been saying it, Cheteshwar Pujara himself has said it, saying you don't want to be looking back in regret later on thinking, oh, we could have done this and we could have done that. No one wants a situation like that, although we hope that a situation like that doesn't really turn up. What are your thoughts on this entire matter though? Do you agree with Pujara and Hayden, or do you think they're making a mountain out of a molehill? You guys can let us know that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel and tap that bell icon. Also, don't forget to download the AajTak app and check out the AajTak website, both English and Hindi. And last but not the least, if you're already on the channel, go right ahead, check out some other videos that we've done through the day, and of course follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. For now, from my side though, it's bye-bye.